Hello and welcome. I'm Shannon Eastman. I'm the host of the Inside Growth podcast, and I am absolutely having so much fun. Today I have Dr. Steve Fonso. Him and his family reside in Thunder Bay, and I had this conversation with him in my apartment here in Dublin, Ireland. Dr. Steve is a chiropractor. He is an entrepreneur, a businessman. He's an author, and anyone who spends 30 seconds on his profiles or Googling him using the Google will see that family and connection are absolutely front and center for Dr. Steve. He is truly about connecting more and stressing less. Words that I've seen populate his material. I also think it's the tagline on his book that he put out recently. This particular story is Dr. Steve's experience of going from head to heart, and it is unlike any head to heart story that I've heard. It was, my hair stood up. I was inspired. I learned new things. I've been exploring the mind-body connection for at least a decade. And I really appreciated the insights that I picked up in this exchange with Dr. Steve. So it is my intention that you will be inspired, absolutely. But I want to add curious. You will become more curious about the mind-body connection and maybe what wants to emerge for you inside your own mind-body connection. Enjoy. This is a great share. Dr. Steve, thank you again for being here and talking to me today. I just wrapped up that conversation with him about 20 minutes ago, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Enjoy. Welcome to the show. Dr. Steve, it is so good to have you here. You've come on to tell us about your story, this 3-foot journey from head to heart. And I applaud you and I thank you for that. More of us need to do it. Without further ado, Dr. Steve, where should we begin?
I think we should begin in my mid-20s.
Mid-20s?
And
were you in Canada then?
I was in Canada then, and I was at an associateship. I was trained as a chiropractor, and I was at an associateship, and I was always drawn to the philosophy of healing and a system being able to heal on its own. And so I was really excited about that when I finished graduate school, and so I went to this associateship, and I was working there for 2 years, and I found myself absolutely miserable in the fact that the work that I was doing did not seem to be promoting this self-healing, self-regulating system that I was so drawn to, like this innate capacity for healing that goes on. And what I was doing was not really supportive of that. And so I was in a real kind of identity crisis at that point, and not enjoying the work whatsoever. And so I was, and again, a blessing in disguise, is I was sent by the gentleman I was working for to a retreat to actually study some technology that they had just bought on the measurement and measuring the nervous system and the health of the brain and the body. And so I went on this 5-day excursion to Denver, Colorado in the United States. And it was at the top of this mountain. It was a 5-day program. And I went there with the expectation to learn about technology, and I have to bring the information back and report it to this doctor. And well, you know, as those things go, your expectations quickly get turned upside down. And so I had this phenomenal experience. They brought us through this transformational process. But one thing that just absolutely was a game changer for me was, it was about on the 4th day, and there was a chiropractic table, and this woman, and I'll remember, she was this small little itty bitty woman. I believe it was from North Carolina. And I was used to a big gruff, working with a big gruff chiropractor that kind of threw my spine around, when he was adjusting me. And this little itty bitty woman says, "Hey, Steve, do you want to lay on the table and get adjusted?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure. Why not?" And I remember laying there face down, and I remember her little itty bitty finger on my neck, and just feeling her press so lightly on my neck, and just holding there. And I could just feel her presence there. And my mind was going all over the place. Like, it was confused. What's she doing? What's going on? Like, just an absolute state of confusion as this little fingers holding this tiny little bit of pressure on my neck. And then all of a sudden, this breath came all the way up my spine. And I just took this enormous, what I remember as this enormous breath up my whole body. And I remember thinking, as that breath was coming through, who is this? What is this? What is this experience? It was like this foreign part of me that I've never met. And he came through my body with breath. And I remember the experience of it completing the cycle of the breath, that inhale, that dramatic inhale, and that exhale, and feeling my body in a different way that I've ever felt it in my life. And I sat up, and I remember just bawling and not knowing what I was bawling about. But there was this new level of connection for the first time that I had ever experienced up until I believe I was 26 years old. And I remember asking in confusion, like, what did you just do? And like, that's all I remember. Like, I don't remember her walking away. I don't remember her like saying bye to her. Like, I was in this state of being that was so foreign yet absolutely beautiful at the same time. And it was like she had come in, swooped in like an angel, held that contact, had me have the experience, and vanished in the same way that she came in. And that changed my whole clinical practice. Like, that changed my career trajectory with that experience, because I couldn't go back after. Like, there was just no going back. To know that that was capable. I was capable of that, and I never knew it. And that the human body is capable of that. And that level of connection and experience and range that was available in me that I had no idea about, that changed what I feel at this point was a personal and professional trajectory at that moment in time, to re-experience that part of me that had been shelved, which I would say most likely since at least the earliest parts of my life. If I was to pick a time, I would say it would be like age 6 when my parents divorced, and the cutoff from the breath. And again, it was transformational.
That's incredible. It's like you reminded me of, the Kundalini practice, where it's a spontaneous energy that kind of, arises from the base of the spine, to most amusement and surprise. Now, you had an inkling of this going into your 5-day retreat at the top of the mountain to learn technology. Like, come on, how cool is that? And you came away with this extraordinary experience that, as you say, has changed your entire way of being in practice. So what happened that year? You came down off the mountain, and then what happened?
Well, the funny part is, on day 5, we had to climb a pole and declare something as we're jumping off the 30-foot pole or whatever that was. And I still have the picture on my desk to this day of me jumping off that pole. So I said, if I jump off this pole, I'm starting my own practice. And so I jumped off the pole. I came home and I gave them my resignation letter and said I was starting my practice. And that was the beginning of the new suffering for me, because my mentor, the person I admired who helped me through different moments in my life of distress, my chiropractic mentor, I experienced the dark side as I put my resignation letter in. And now the bliss, the courage to depart and begin my journey now began with experiencing the dark side of my mentor and finances and what it takes to depart a relationship and all these formalities, which the person taking that breath cared so little about. And now I'm dealing with on a very mechanical nature of lawyers and money and rules. And I just wanted to be free. I felt the freedom. And I was just interested in being free. And wow, did I get whacked with the polar opposite constriction at its finest. So that year was a transformational year. And it began with this newfound freedom and simultaneously the massive amount of constriction that began in the departure process of my journey as a person and clinician in this newfound experience and awareness.
What tools, resources, strategies, people, bodies of work did you engage over that dark night of the soul process timeline to navigate?
Yeah, well, that's where I found, that's where I wouldn't say I found or came to me, Donnie Epstein. Donnie Epstein was the first major mentor I had in terms of clinical work. And his main focus was on, he developed models of the stages of the healing process for me to be able to wrap my head around what I was going through. It gave me the map, the roadmap of the healing process, which I definitely am forever grateful for him being in my life to give me and provide me with that roadmap of the healing process, which I still use to this day, near 20 years later.
Wow.
And he introduced me to the magic, the profound magic of using your body, your spine, and your breath as a gateway to an awakened, heart-centered experience. And he held programs, and I had what I would say is probably one of my second awakening experience on his table again in Denver. Denver's been treated me very well over the years. And I reconnected with my father, who was divorced at age 6, and I was on his table, and I literally felt the connection with him and our mutual suffering pattern that occurred when we separated from each other. And I was reconnected in an absolute awakening experience using just my spine and my breath and the energy around me in this experience. And that was a next experience that I will not forget, because I remember, again, just tears of gratitude as I got to experience that my dad suffered just like I suffered, and I had no clue. I thought I was the only one suffering the whole time, and my dad equally suffered in that experience. And when I saw that there was no separation between us, which is what Donnie had provided me as an experience, that there was no separation between myself and my father and our mutual suffering, the gratitude that I experienced, the tears of gratitude was immense, and the relief through my body was incredible. And I came home, and literally from the moment, I never spoke to my dad about the experience. But we instantly started to say, I love you on our phone conversations when I came home from that program. It was like in the quantum field, in the field, the hearts were on board, the hearts were connected. There was no minds connect, like in that suffering place. It was the hearts were connected. And when I saw what two hearts connected do instantaneously is magically, we're just saying we love each other with no dialogue about anything in the past. And that was mind-blowing to see that and to experience that instantaneous transformation when you're connected to heart. And and not only that, he was connected to heart through me connecting through heart. And it was instantaneous.
So for myself, I'm asking for me, but I'm also asking for the person listening right now going, wait a minute, chiropractor into the heart field, healing a relationship without words. Can you connect a few of those dots for us? So you're a chiropractor who facilitates individuals who come in with bone joint adjustment requirements.
Yeah.
However, you also facilitate other stuff. And I'm guessing this other stuff, so you talked about the breath, the spine.
Yes.
The body.
I'd love to speak about the spine because it was an underappreciated part for me.
Yeah.
And so if I could just speak to that quickly, Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion, she talked, in fact, she mentioned about the spinal cord in that book, is particular to Donnie's work, because the spinal cord is a main producer of neurotransmitters, and neurotransmitters make up emotions. They build emotions. And she found the highest concentration of these neuropeptides and neurotransmitters along the dorsal root ganglion of the spinal cord. So right along the edges of the spinal cord were a main producer of these neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitters make your emotions. And so what I began to value is the range of your spine, which now goes back to even yogic principles of your level of vitality is related to the level of flexibility and range of your spine. Essentially, some science has shown that the degree of range of your spinal cord and its ability to move energy and pump energy through the spinal cord can help you to make new emotions and a new experience in your body. And she also found that the second highest concentration of these neurotransmitters were in your lungs, in your lung tissue. Your brain was third on the quantity of neurotransmitters. So you have the spinal cord, which she proposed as the main maker of your emotions, neurotransmitters, the lungs being second, and the brain actually being third. So when we look at this range of the spine being able to change your emotional state, the range and degree of utilization of your lungs to change your emotional state, and you couple that with the links of the spinal cord and the lung tissue in with the brain, you can create magic through the spinal cord, optimizing the range of it, the breath, optimizing that range of your lung tissue, and how that all feeds into the experience that you have in your body. So that was over a decade worth of research, experience, reading on the vast potential and lack thereof of a rigid spinal cord and a rigid spine versus a very fluid, buoyant, flexible, and free spine. The other thing to consider as well in that is, your identity, it also has neurological links through your spine. Because if you want to act out a persona of if you're depressed, you're going to slouch your spine forward. It supports that state. If you want to be confident, you're naturally going to lift your spine up to support the chemistry of confidence. if you want to have an awakened experience, you're naturally going to arch your spine and open the lungs, which you'll see on websites of people expressing freedom as they open their spine and they tip their spine back in, because that position changes the inner chemistry of the body. And so your spinal cord and its positioning influences through what we already know as human beings: do depressed, slouch forward; do confident, lift your spine; do a blissful, expansive experience, you're going to open your spine and arch it into new curves. So the spinal cord is a gateway to different experiences in your body, correlated with different ranges of your lung tissue. So if you bend forward in depression, you're obviously closing down the amount that your lung tissue can expand. If you're standing up tall and confident, you're allowing more room for that lung capacity to expand. If you're opening up and stretching your spinal cord open and arching back, you're again giving more range to the lung tissue and what can be experienced. So all these things I learned over a good decade and a half of the possibilities that can be created with a spine that is incredibly healthy and a spinal cord that is incredibly free of tension. And when it's free of tension, you have less rigidness in your mind and your identity, and you can move more effortlessly into the heart center.
Wow.
The more rigid it is, the more compressed it is, you are going to be less likely, or you're lowering your odds of sustainability in that heart center. So that was the piece that I didn't get filled in chiropractic school. Donnie, as well as Candace Pert in her neuro research, great neuroscientist, a real trendsetter, and she pushed a lot of boundaries in that field. And in her book, also, again, just coupling and building on that importance and the possibilities with that.
Looking back on your experience to date, what would you have liked to have known as you were leaving the top of the mountain after 5 days, coming back to Ontario? What would you have liked to have known then that you now appreciate and really understand today?
I would have liked to know at that point that this was going to be a journey that is not just going to be the feelings of lovey-dovey and free, and there is going to be new suffering, and there is going to be new challenges that need to get tackled. And I was at that point just naive to that and thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go and all will be hunky-dory because what I say will go, and I'm just gonna leave, and things will just carry on. And I would have liked to know that, Steve, this is the start point for you right now is a whole new adventure that you have no idea what you're about to embark on. And I would have liked to be humbled slightly on that mountain, just so that I could keep some good perspective, and that I don't have expectations about other people of how they're supposed to be or behave, that it's a humbling experience. You're about to go on a journey, and just know that you are going to meet people that are going to support you and challenge you as you're going through your journey. And here we go. So get ready. That's what I would have liked to know.
I love that. I'm inspired. I've learned a lot of new things today, particularly about the chiropractic service available, which I now see on a spectrum for the body, for the well-being, for the emotions. I guess it can play out on all levels of the human entity, mental, emotional, physical, etc. So that's really extraordinary. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, that was just a piece that I really, like you articulated, I didn't get to experience, not even in chiropractic school or my first 2 years of training. Just I had no awareness of that. So I was so grateful to have those pieces be added in, and not just added in clinically, like in my head, but embody it. Embody an awakening experience by just using the range of my body and what resources were available within me, which was my tension and my breath and my movement. And those were more than enough to catapult me to new levels. And for that, I'm grateful, because the degree of appreciation I have for the body, now I have this amazing foundation. So then when I began to study more of the psychology work, I was able to hold the great appreciation for what the body can do, even as a standalone entity. And when you incorporate that into the psychology work, well, now you have even a further recipe for even greater awakening potential and transformation.
It's incredible. Dr. Steve, your details, your website, your social media profiles are below. For anyone who wants to get in touch with you, book a session, or maybe even collaborate with you. That's a really great story.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you for bringing that here. I'm really grateful.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to spend time with you. I really appreciate it.
I'm Shannon Eastman, and thank you for listening to the Inside Growth podcast, InsideGrowthMinicon.com. I have a feeling that your story wants sharing, the story of going from head to heart. Who were you when you found out that that was something you wanted to do? What did you learn along the way, and who are you today because of that journey? Details are available on the website. If you're feeling the prompt, if you know that's you and your time has come, then I would love to hear from you. InsideGrowthMinicon.com.